They can't. A man is a man and a woman is a woman. That's just common sense.
I will defend religious liberty. I will restore free speech.
Saying that he was busy trying to convince everybody that women clearly had penises.
They're done playing nice. From Britain to Hungary, Singapore to the US, some of the most powerful leaders on the planet are declaring war on woke culture. But why? What do they see as the real threat?
In the West, they got a movement called wokeness, where you are super sensitive about other people's...
Non devo potermi definire italiana, cristiana, donna, madre, no?
In their words, it's not just about politics, it's about protecting the very identity of their nations. So how did woke become the new battleground? And why are world leaders so fired up about it? Let's find out. Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak's anti-woke stance defines him. Sharp, unapologetic, and divisive.
Get out of it. It's why I want to take on this lefty woke culture that seems to want to cancel our history, our values, and our women. Job. And it's because we are not captured by identity politics that we can take on and stand up to this woke nonsense that wants to cancel our history, our values, and can't even say what a woman is.
It's not just talk. He's taken action to push back on what he sees as progressive overreach on British values. For that reason, he graced so many headlines from media houses and big publications like this one. Can Sunak's right-wing war on woke migrants and the environment save the Tories? Or this one? Tory leadership race. Rishi Sunak vows to stop woke nonsense and left-wing agitators in latest pledge. While claiming he has zero interest in fighting a so-called culture war, Mr. Sunak pledged to stand up to left-wing agitators and protect British freedoms if he becomes Prime Minister. And even this one. Rishi Sunak vows to tackle woke nonsense and left-wing agitators. The Tory leadership hopeful appears to have hardened his language on identity politics in a bid to win over party members.
Who wanted to abolish the monarchy, who still doesn't know what a woman is.
Sunak's message: British freedoms are under attack, with left-wing agitators rewriting history and policing language, something he couldn't really quite wrap his head around. He even stated, "What's the point in stopping the bulldozers in the Greenbelt if we allow left-wing agitators to take a bulldozer to our history, our traditions, and our fundamental values?" His priority? Free speech, to which he said, whether it's pulling down statues of historic figures, replacing the school curriculum with anti-British propaganda, or rewriting the English language so we can't even use words like man, woman, or mother without being told we're offending someone. Sunak argues that woke culture kills open dialogue, with cancel culture silencing anyone who strays from the progressive line. He's firm. People should speak freely without fear. True to his statement, he said, "Our laws must protect free speech, block biological men from competing in women's sports, and ensure that children are allowed to be children." In schools, Sunak demanded a balance. No ideological slant, just facts, fostering critical thinking and an honest appreciation of Britain's heritage. He stated, "But we are determined to end the brainwashing, the vandalism, and the finger-pointing." Sunak's words and policies struck a nerve in Britain, which felt its traditions were being threatened. Hsien Loong. Singapore's Prime Minister Hsien Loong has boldly opposed woke culture. To him, it's not just a Western trend, it's a threat to societal unity. Lee's critique has made waves globally, with supporters and critics alike weighing in, such as Elon Musk. Wisdom. Elon Musk praises former Singapore PM Hsien Loong's critique of woke culture. The Tesla CEO shared a clip of Lee saying the wokeness movement leads to extreme attitudes and social norms. In a recent interview, he laid it all out. He sees woke culture as hypersensitive and restrictive, especially in academia.
In the West, they got a movement called wokeness, where you are super sensitive about other people's issues, and you become hypersensitive when other people somehow or other say things or mention things or refer to you without the respect which you or your super subgroup feel you are entitled to. It leads to very extreme attitudes and social norms, particularly in some academic institutions.
Safe spaces, pronouns, trigger warnings. He believes these norms are smothering open dialogue and critical thinking.
You talk about safe spaces, you talk about appropriate pronouns, you talk about... I'm about to say something which may be offensive to you. If you don't want to hear it, perhaps you'd like to leave now.
Lee argues that woke culture fractures society instead of fostering resilience.
Life becomes very burdensome. And I don't think we want to go in that direction. It does not make us a more resilient, cohesive society with a strong sense of solidarity. We must be...
Singapore thrives on values like meritocracy, multiculturalism, and pragmatic governance. Values Lee sees as incompatible with the divisiveness of woke culture. His take? Unity and resilience are non-negotiable for a country's success. Singapore PM finds wokeness problematic amid Ola boss pronoun fight with LinkedIn. In the West, they've got a movement called wokeness where you're super sensitive about other people's issues. It leads to very extreme attitudes and social norms, particularly in some academic institutions, universities. Ola CEO Bhavish Agarwal even chimed in, accusing Western companies of exporting woke imperialism. Bhavish even said, "I'm not against global tech companies, but as an Indian citizen, I feel concerned that my life will be governed by Western big tech monopolies, and we will be culturally subsumed as the above experience shows. I want to confront this forced ideology as a free-thinking Indian." Other leaders are watching, too, echoing fears that woke cultures focus on identity politics, divides rather than unity. Lee's call isn't just criticism, it's a push to reassess the values that truly bind societies together. Giorgia Meloni. Italy's first female prime minister, Giorgia Meloni, isn't just making history, she's shaking up the world stage by openly opposing woke culture. Her win surprised many across Italy and beyond, aligning her with leaders who stand for traditional values and national identity. From day one, Meloni's been about family, culture, and Italy's heritage. Her party, Brothers of Italy, champions these roots, fueling a movement against progressive ideals they see as eroded core values. Many Italians back her stance, feeling their identity and traditions are at risk. In fact, she's been given labels as the far-right leader, making headlines like this one. EU elections. How Italy's far-right leader, Giorgia Meloni, framed her politics throughout the campaign. Who is Giorgia Meloni? The rise to power of Italy's new far-right PM. And even this one. Giorgia Meloni's not-so-scary right-wing government. I mean, the headlines never ran dry of using far-right. It was far-right this, far-right that, and almost everything else with a spice of far-right. Honestly, it was pretty boring. But why? She struck a nerve. Yes, her win meant it wouldn't be business as usual for the woke people. In Giorgia's words, family is a huge threat to the woke people. She claims that the woke virus is spreading so fast and that even kids are the new target, with schools and TV programs making it look normal for kids to have same-sex parents.
Adesso chiaramente riparlano di togliere la dicitura padre e madre dai documenti, perché la famiglia è un nemico, l'identità nazionale è un nemico, l'identità di genere è un nemico, tutto quello che ci definisce per loro è un nemico.
According to Meloni, woke culture is all about a game of single thought, and that the wokies won't stop until no identity is left.
È il gioco del pensiero unico. Ci devono togliere tutto quello che siamo, perché quando non avremo più un'identità e non avremo più radici, noi saremo privi di consapevolezza, incapaci di difendere i nostri...
When we say woke culture, think of ideologies pushing for social justice, gender fluidity, and inclusivity. But Meloni argues these moments go too far, uprooting family structures and sidelining collective heritage.
Chi vorrebbe che non avessimo più un'identità e che fossimo solamente schiavi, consumatori perfetti.
I am so sorry to my world. I am so sorry to my world. This is not what we want.
E allora è sotto attacco l'identità nazionale, è sotto attacco l'identità religiosa, è sotto attacco l'identità di genere, è sotto attacco l'identità familiare.
Notice how this attempt strips away everything meaningful. It erases culture and tradition.
Io devo essere cittadino X, genere X, genitore 1, genitore 2, devo essere un numero.
Turning people into faceless data points.
Perché quando sarò solamente un numero, quando non avrò più un'identità, quando non avrò più radici, beh, allora sarò lo schiavo perfetto in balia della grande speculazione finanziaria.
She believes this isn't just about individual freedoms. It threatens Italy's fabric, as traditions give way to radical ideas.
È il loro gioco. vogliono che siamo genitore 1, genitore 2, genere LGBT, cittadini X, dei codici. Ma noi non siamo dei codici, noi siamo persone e difenderemo la nostra identità.
With Giorgia, the woke people don't stand a chance. Not today. She's vowed to fight them tooth and nail.
Io sono Giorgia, sono una donna, sono una madre, sono italiana, sono cristiana, non me lo toglierete! Non me lo toglierete!
Giorgia is facing severe backlash just because she's a pro-woman, pro-family, pro-Christian, and any other pro for good reasons.
Puoi dare, grazie. Sì, mi ricordo, me lo vuoi lasciare? Me lo vuoi lasciare? Mi ricordo. Va bene, tu vuoi tante cose, ognuno vuole delle cose. Aspetta.
Do you notice how the guy felt provoked? Yes, that's how the woke people behave. They're all the same.
Scusami, tu vuoi delle cose, non devi scappare all'estero, tu vuoi delle cose, io voglio il diritto di pensarla in maniera diversa, è la democrazia, si può non essere d'accordo, io e te non siamo d'accordo, ci rispettiamo non essendo d'accordo.
You see, despite the huge friction she faced from the woke people, Meloni's speeches have resonated with most Italians who see her as a defender of Italian culture.
Mi vergogno di uno Stato che non fa niente per le famiglie.
Promises are everywhere, but action is nowhere to be seen.
Di uno Stato nel quale tutti parlano degli asili nido gratuiti e nessuno li fa. La proposta l'ha portata Fratelli d'Italia, bocciata.
But critics argue her policies are divisive, ignoring the benefits of inclusivity and modern progress. Ask yourself what progress the woke culture brings other than unaccountability, recklessness, and division. Is Meloni preserving Italy's soul or standing in the way of evolution? Let us know in the comments. Donald Trump.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple.
Trump has vowed to combat woke ideologies like critical race theory and transgender insanity. It gets even better. He's promised to kick out the madness of men joining women's sports.
Get the hell out of our schools and fast. And we will keep men out of women's sports. I will defend religious liberty. I will restore.
Yes, he ended wokeness. In addition, he has also emphasized that once re-elected, he'll ensure things like puberty blockers are peeled off from the go.
I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children.
And like that's not enough, Trump has also vowed to double down on his orders by stopping any sex and gender transition laws that are currently operational.
I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age.
Seriously, for once, we can say that this is a sane policy. However, can you imagine how badly the woke culture shall progress if Trump fails to win?
Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
So bad. There's no doubt about it. But also you might be wondering when Trump started this fight. Okay, here's some backdrop to when he made his statement clear. During a campaign rally in Iowa, he said, "As president, I recognize that the woke mind virus represents a war on the truth. So we will wage a war on the woke. We will fight the woke in education. We will fight the woke in the corporations. We will fight the woke in the halls of Congress. We will never ever surrender to the woke mob. We will make woke ideology, leave it to the dustbin of history. It's gone." Trump has vowed to crack down on globalist politicians and woke multinational corporations who he says are mentally ill.
Our movement must continue to pursue a populist, nationalist, economic agenda that puts working families before globalist politicians and woke multinational corporations who are mentally ill in many cases. They're sick.
From calling out the radical left wokies in education and the military, Trump has made it clear he wants a return to the patriotic military.
Going there, and before they bring them on board, they have to study woke for a week. Can you believe it?
Then there are the issues of recognizing the family structure of a mother and father, gender identity, and men participating in women's sports. all of these issues, Donald Trump has firmly said he will ensure the family unit is recognized and valued.
That the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female.
Next we have Viktor Orbán. Viktor Orbán believes woke culture is a threat to Hungary's values and identity. As Hungary's prime minister, he crafted his image as the defender of conservative principles, pushing back against what he sees as an invasion of progressive ideologies, making headlines like this. Viktor Orbán's anti-woke resistance has made him the splinter under the fingernail of the EU. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's role as Europe's perennial spoiler has frequently brought the European Union to a breaking point, as he has blocked crucial decisions to leverage concessions and forced EU leaders to find workarounds.
So if somebody would like to make an attempt to create a mixed society, Christian-based with Muslim communities, and as liberals think the outcome will be something good, let's do it. It's your fate. It's your future.
His mission? Preserve Hungary's Christian heritage and cultural identity.
But don't force us to do so. So that's what we call the offer of tolerance, what I have made several times to Brussels. I said, guys, you can create whatever migration system you would like to do, but don't force Hungary to do the same thing, because we simply don't believe.
According to Orban, Hungary doesn't have and never wishes to implement an immigration system that fosters cultural mixing, as that'll result in conflicts between the groups. Yes, it's that simple.
We think that mixture of the two civilizations will be not resulted in good things. Public security gone away, the intellectual horizon is totally confused, the value system of societies will be not strong enough to help us to live in a good way. So don't force.
Additionally, Orban argues that woke culture, through its biological labs, redefines family, gender, and education. Values he insists are foundational to Hungary. Attack on Europe and America? By who?
Azt is jelentenem kell önöknek, hogy a támadás nem gazdasági természetű.
Who are these attackers that Orban is referring to?
Biológiai fegyverrel van dolgunk. Egy vírustámadást indítottak ellenünk. Ezt a vírust a progresszív, liberális laboratóriumokban fejlesztik.
Yes, that's the attacker, a biological weapon. And he doesn't just see this as a domestic issue. No, he claims the pressure is coming from outside. Western Europe, the US, and especially the EU, all trying to force their values on Hungary. It gets even better. Orban claims woke is the modern-day communism and Marxism. The woke movement and gender ideology are exactly what communism and Marxism used to be. They artificially cut the nation into minorities in order to spark strife among the groups. A big battleground? Education. Orban warns that schools are becoming ideological arenas where traditional curricula are scrapped for progressive indoctrination. He's concerned it will confuse young minds, pulling them away from Hungary's roots. Then there's free speech. Orban argues that woke culture silences dissent, creating an echo chamber where only one voice can be heard. To him, that's dangerous in a democracy. Orban's anti-woke stance resonates with other leaders, Rishi Sunak, Giorgia Meloni, and Donald Trump. They share Orban's concerns, seeing woke culture as a Western export threatening their own cultural sovereignty. Together, these leaders form an unofficial alliance. They see woke ideology as cultural imperialism, a direct threat to their national identities. Orban and his allies claim they're not just resisting woke culture, they're fighting to protect their country's right to self-determination. And now comes the big question. In an interconnected world, their resistance raises big questions. Is global unity worth losing cultural heritage? Share your thoughts in the comments. Trust me, the next video is going to be even more intense. If you enjoyed this one, I'm sure you'll love what's coming up next. Catch you in the next video.